Hello friends, my name is RagePanda1 and we are back with another review and a little testing scenario for the leveling guide. This time we're doing Necromancer and it's another build that people are crazy about. You're gonna see Wraith Lords everywhere and usually they're doing the low life build, and that's not an insult, they really are having low life and very high ward. Some people are doing that with glitches, some people are doing that without the glitches. Mostly the people that you're seeing making content on the game are not using glitches, and if we get to that point in the end game, you better believe that your boy is not going to be doing glitches. So this intro part's going to go a little bit faster than in the previous video. If you didn't see it, it was on the Rune Master. We're going to pay attention to what we actually are supposed to be using. I have actually read this guide. So basically for this one we're going to be spamming our Rip Blood ability and letting all of our minions do the work. It's not much more complicated than that. And there are a couple of other abilities that we're going to look out for, like Summon Volatile Zombies can be great for extra damage, and we can abuse the belts that have the experimental affix to get a little bit more of that action, and yes, they do actually scale off of that, which is awesome. And on bosses, just so that we can get some extra damage, we're going to be doing the Bone Curse, which is maybe not super efficient or even necessary when you're just clearing out rooms, but when you get to the bosses, you want to be killing them fast. Trust me, in the Rune Master video, it took way too long to be killing bosses. Looking at the skills and passives here, we are going to start by bumping up our intelligence as much as we can, and we're even doing that before we're doing the minion damage. That's important to note. A lot of people probably would just go straight for the minion damage, and it's not going to ruin your game if you do, but actually we want to go for intelligence first. And then we'll get our dark rituals for some more minion attack speed. And honestly, even on our weapon, we're not looking for anything to boost our own damage. We are not the star of the show in this particular round. It's all about the minions. And that is reflected here in our gear guide. Now, if I were going to go into my stash, I have a lot of these uniques available. So when I get to the point that I'm going into monoliths, then I will probably switch into using a lot of the stuff that I already have. But for the leveling through the campaign process, I will be completely self-found, which means I am focusing on intelligence. That's going to be a big one. And then minion damage is the other thing. Minion health is also pretty helpful. So without any further dudes, let's go ahead and jump into the game and make our character. The adventure begins with Sylvia Splat. Now, if the game would have given us our skeletons right off the bat, then we might be killing a couple of these dudes here and there. Unfortunately, we ended up with Rip Blood. It is what it is. It means we're not killing anything, just like with the Rune Master, and we're going to follow the same NPC to town, and I have no reason to show that to you every single time I make a video. Although it might be worth chiming in here just to mention that you can summon 3 skeletons at a time. You don't have to just summon one, and you should be summoning all 3. Once again, we are going to use the loot filter that is provided to us, because hey, we wouldn't be doing it justice if we didn't. So once again, Control A, Control C, at which point we will press Shift F. And then I'll duck out of the way so I can click Import Filter. You know how we do it. Paste from clipboard contents, and we're going to call it Necro Level. And we make it purple because purple is the best color. That's how we do it. We are also going to press Wandering Spirits on cooldown while we still need to. It's a really good AoE skill for the beginning of the game. We may as well use it. Wandering Spirits does actually quite a lot of damage, and you kind of can just set it and forget it. Gotta love the mini boss fight. This is actually just going to be more of the same. We just let those spirits do a bunch of damage. Our minions are doing a bunch of damage. And then we just rip blood. We can almost just stand in all of the stuff because our skill is healing us. And that's kind of nice. I'm not saying you should, because if he drops more than one in the same spot, it's going to hurt. Another thing that's always very important is picking up these shrines. Luckily, this one gave me movement speed, but you could be getting idols or gold or whatever thing you might find may be useful in the moment, or it might be useful for your account in general. So it's always worth it. You may be going along as you're leveling and you've applied their loot filter and you realize, well, when I look at my inventory, actually I don't have hardly anything. I certainly don't have a lot of rare items hanging out. So what you can do is you can just press and hold X. If you press and hold X on your keyboard, it will show you the thing. You can have a look and say, hey, maybe I'd like to use that. maybe I wouldn't. It's a nice little workaround when you're using a loot filter and you see a color that you like. Of course, we continue to get extremely lucky in these. I promise these are not planted items. We've got health, physical resistance, and movement speed on boots. Literally could not ask for more, and since we're so happy about it, we're going to go ahead and buff those up a little bit with extra movement speed to help our leveling process go a little faster. More health and intelligence here. Remember, one of the things we're looking for the most is intelligence, and so we're going to buff that up as well. Oh, you know we stay getting criticals too. I am loving my life right now. And when I get my cooldowns back, and I have a whole bunch of dudes all grouped up, then I'll pop my Wandering Spirits, and I'll hang out here for a second and watch as they just eat everybody alive. I feel like, yet again, they could have put this in the actual guide because it makes a huge difference in your leveling time. So, if that tip helped you, then go ahead and chuck your boy a subscribe. I would appreciate having you around more often. We are literally living the dream. We found the best word that we could find on any of our pieces of gear, and that is Commanders. What Commanders does is it gives us increased minion damage, and that is basically the top thing that we're looking for. And I'm very happy to see that this early on. You just gotta keep your eyes open, people. I was hoping to have my bone golem by now, but it was not the case. It was not the case. All we have to do against this boss is we're going to apply our bone curse, and then we're going to put our wandering spirits and spam rip blood. It's super easy. Very, very easy playstyle. And hopefully a lot more damage than the last one. Hopefully. Oh yeah, this is absolutely shredding. You'll love to see it. Reapplying the bone curse, of course, whenever it falls off. Trying not to get hit in the face with fireballs, but hey, we can't all be perfect. We can't all do it. Watching the cooldowns, getting some more wandering spirits. You can tell that when they're up, they're the ones that are doing the crazy damage. It's not all the rest of this stuff. Wandering spirits, just kind of OP. Ooh, we like that! Movement, speed, and intelligence. Although, doesn't this one already have intelligence? It does not, but we can fix that. Boom. Now it does. Get out of here, Blue Boots. We don't even need you. We actually have a ton of the Scholar's Affix, which is the one that gives you intelligence. And that's exactly what we said we were looking for, and that's what we're following through with. And it's really working out for us in terms of damage. Now we find ourselves with huge things to do. We're going to be putting in some more passive points, of course. Going for the Blood Aura, and that is giving us our Bone Golem, which we have been dying to acquire. We're going to put that right over on this section here. And we also got our Teleport, which means we might have to lose Wandering Spirits now. We could lose Bone Curse, which actually I think might be better. I think giving up on the Wandering Spirits this early might be a bit of a mistake. But we're here to follow the build, so we're going with Teleport. And I have no problem with that. I'm sure it's going to be fine. But when we get to this point, we also have some points that we're putting in. Getting ourselves an extra skeleton. That's amazing. And I'm going to have to refer back to the guide to see what they want me to put on the golem. But I know they want me to be putting it on the golem. And that's what we're going to do. When it comes to leveling up your skills, just follow the guide. They'll tell you what to do. But if you're like me and you feel like, maybe I should be using Wandering Spirits here instead of having Bone Curse on my bar. Well, if you like that better, then you should do it, because these are just guides, and it's fine for you to go off of what the guide is telling you to do. It might be better what they said. It might be better what you said. It depends on your account, your character, your gear, all sorts of different things. Even your playstyle might matter. So, do what you want to do. For me, I'm trying to follow the guide because that's what the video's about, so that's what I'm gonna do. And one thing I love here is that I can just be walking around doing nothing with this build, and my team is gonna keep up with me, and they're also gonna kill a bunch of people. I can put out a curse if I want to. I don't have to do anything. And you know what? It's the lap of luxury after that last one where I was working so hard. As you're going through these dungeons, you're going to notice it has a minion count in the top left, and you want to make sure that you have the maximum up there that you're allowed to have. Otherwise, you're throwing. Boss time, baby! Also, another tip to go with the last one, you can just resummon your Bone Golem to keep his health high, and you want to be doing that. But this build is so much stronger than the last one. I really think it's doing a lot better. We'll see how the minions scale with time. Now, certainly one of the benefits here is that our minions are going to do all the work for us. But one of the drawbacks is that we're at the mercy of whoever they want to target, wherever they want to go, whatever they want to do. There is a button that we can press that will tell them where we want them to go. And they might do it, but they also probably won't. And that can be a bit of a problem. In this particular fight, it was no issue at all. We're doing great. We lost a couple of our dudes to the up close and personal spells, but absolutely shredding, and I'm having a good time. I like minion builds. I don't know about you. There's the potential for it to get a little boring, but I am not feeling that right now. I'm having a really good time. Now here's the test we've all been waiting for. We're coming up on an exiled mage. Get over here, golem boy. We're gonna need your big old booty to be doing all the work we need to do. So we're cursing. He's teleporting out of it. We love it. We're cursing. There we go. Now stay out of the schmengus, everybody. He's going to be putting a bunch of stuff on the ground and we ain't going to like it. I do love how tanky the golem is. He has cold resistance right now, which is definitely helping. This is very much less painful than the last one was, but still quite slow. Did I get the volatile zombies? That's what we're looking for. I did not. Unfortunate. Alright, pro tip for fighting this guy. You often need to get all the way in this corner to attack him. It's really weird, and usually only with melee. But if you face into this corner and aim towards the torch, for whatever reason, it will actually hit the guy. I don't know why it does that. Maybe that'll be in a different tips video to be showcased more prominently, but hey, it helped me out earlier today. Just absolutely decimated yet another boss, and we got some legendary gloves. I always call them legendary. I can't help myself. I know they're unique. Nothing. But the real prize at the end of the rainbow was the Commander's Gloves of Remedy. That's right. Anything that says Commander on it, we're real happy, and what we do with them is we instantly take them in here and we forge up the minion damage. That's exactly what we want to do and make it real strong like. And since it's letting me do a couple of them, we can also throw on intelligence here and be pretty happy with that. Now that forged up pretty darn good, if you ask me. Pretty darn good. It also means that we probably can put on some more intelligence and or movement speed here. We sure can. Loving that. We don't have anything too cool on our staff yet. We got minion melee damage and some minion spell damage. It's fine. This is the base of a weapon that they want us to be using, but it's not that fantastic right now. But we're not too worried about that. We're just going to pump up all of our intelligence, and we're going to call it good. I'm not worried about any of the resistances right now. Not at all. We love the critical success, especially on physical resistance. I will actually be looking to upgrade that further as time goes on, because we're getting real lucky with the forging potential on this one. The amulet? Not so much. While we're talking about gear, and just in case you didn't know it, if you're one of the newer players, I have an axe here that says that I get health gained on companion hit, increased companion revive, and revive speed, and all this stuff. That is not the same as a minion. Companions are a primalist sort of thing, and all companions are minions, but not all minions are companions. And if you're not a primalist, you don't have a companion, so that is of no use to us, even though it does look extremely cool. In the Rune Master Guide, we did talk about this fight just a little bit, and how range was an issue. Somebody made a good point that the final hit of Glacier is actually the strongest part, so you can just focus on hitting that and it does pretty well. That is true. The problem in this fight is that a lot of our minions are going to stand in his stuff and get killed, like how we already lost one there. Ideally, we would have all archers here, but I suppose we could fish for that if we really cared, but they still get hit by moves like that one. So the actual damage per second here is fine, and the survivability is pretty good on our minions. You just hate to see him get roasted like that. I was doing a hardcore fight in the later monoliths, and the boss just kept doing the big thing, and I was trying to do my wolves build, and they just kept killing my wolves, and that is not what you want to see. Luckily, our bros were surviving on that one. Very exciting times. We get to pick our class now, our subclass, if you will, and we want to pay attention to the buffs that we're actually getting right now. We get +1 max skeleton mage, +1 max skeleton, and our minions deal a lot more damage. That's all Very, very good stuff that we like to see. So we want to be making sure that we're summoning that extra skeleton, making use of the extra slot that we have. And also, similar to the Rune Master Guide, we are not respeccing yet, although we will be switching out of just doing summon skeletons, and we'll be going into summoning skeletal mages. It ain't the time yet. We got to get 5 points into Necromancer before that's even possible. I'm not sure if I'm the least lucky person of all time, but I have not even been finding rings at all. I got a blue one that's terrible, and an empty slot, so we're going to do a little bit of gambling, which can be a good thing to do. If you have some extra gold, I don't have the most because I've been buying a whole bunch of stash tabs. But if you're going to gamble on rings like I'm about to do and you're leveling, then you want to get silver rings because we care more about movement speed than anything else. And if you get lucky like I just did there, you might have a somewhat decent ring. I cannot believe that we got minion damage on that while I was talking about the thing. Congratulations to us. That's awesome. I'm also going to try to get a second one because I have a little extra gold from other playthroughs, but I'm not going to go too crazy here. Yeah, but maybe one more, right? Just one more. Come on, Daddy needs a new pair of shoes. What do we got? Poison damage, dexterity. Can't use it. Terrible. Gotta gamble one more time. Alright, this one's got intelligence. I will literally just take that. It's fine. I mostly care about the movement speed anyway, and intelligence at least helps us. This one with the minion damage, we're going to take the minion damage and forge it up. That's what we do. After level 16, the build picks up quite a bit in terms of fun because you get to summon your volatile zombies. And they just run around and explode on people, which is a great deal of fun. Nothing like a little kamikaze zombie for you. Way more fun than Rip Blood, but also we're no longer getting the self-sustain that Rip Blood offers to us, so we gotta be watching that a little more. Although it is a pet build, right? It's not like everybody's coming straight for us, except for those kinds of mobs that do, and you gotta watch out for those. We've just hit level 20, and with that, we're about to be switching up our build a little bit. Before getting our skeletal mages, we were doing summon skeleton. After that, we're going to be doing summon skeletal mages, and we've just unlocked that being level 20, as well as our third specialization slot, which is going to go to summon volatile zombies. For those who are wondering what it looks like when you're rolling around with your skeletal mages, it's pretty much more of the same, except that they're not going to be in range to be getting killed quite as often, which is very nice. And they're going to be getting more uptime on damage because they're ranged, which I also like quite a bit. That's probably why we're using these ones. You may have noticed that right when I switched over I had skeletons and mages. For some reason, that glitches out if they were already summoned. So don't be exploiting that, because that would be rude, wouldn't it? And somehow right when I was making that clip, I got two drops that were crazy. We got a set belt right here, which is Pebble's Bite Marked Sash. This is a great set to keep a lookout for. Absolutely a great set to look out for. They have huge minion damage on these. It comes with intelligence, you know we're looking for that as well. And we got a hat that's got Summon Volatile Zombies +1 with 20% minion damage. That's huge. I don't know if I even have the shards to upgrade that. I've tried to collect some of the more rare ones, but we don't have it. Now this is the fight that was long and boring the first time. We'll see how that goes. I have a feeling it ain't gonna be that way this time. Not at all. It was quick and exciting. Love to see it. This build is doing way better. Although, to be fair, I've gotten very lucky with gear and I have a lot of extra minion damage and a lot of intelligence, and that all adds up to do great things, as you can see. If there's one thing that I know for sure, it's that you definitely need to celebrate your wins, and we just got one here with this root staff that happened to just be of Brutality and the Coven, which gives us our minion melee damage, minion spell damage, more minion spell damage, and minion bow damage. Obviously, we're looking mostly for the melee and the spell damage here, but we are extremely happy about that because flat damage is very strong in this game, and getting this on suffixes, which normally are not meant for damage, crazy good. We don't even care that the ones on the top level are not helping us in any way. We only care about the suffixes for the weapon for this particular build, which is a little different than what you're normally going to find. It would be nice if we had something that was benefiting us there. You could get away with something like fire damage. We're going to have pyromancers from our mages soon. And if you had this and it happened to have that fire on it, maybe you would go into the pyromancers just a skosh earlier than you would have before. In fact, we're only 1 point away if we really cared, but it doesn't matter for us because we don't have that affix available to us. What are you going to do? Lord Jesus, it's a fire! This build is honestly even easier than the last one, and I don't even have to do anything. I could just walk through this entire zone and not even play. I could do that. My volatile zombies are only here so that I don't fall asleep. And I am kind of okay with that, to be honest with you. If you're looking for an easy build that you're gonna be fine, this is the easy build. This is not a lot of buttons to press. You don't have to really do much. You can't mess it up as long as you're putting in the points where they tell you, and sometimes you could just stand still. Maybe you don't like that, but yeah, some people do. But I don't want to make it sound too boring. It's not like you don't get to play at all. It's just you only have to play as much as you want to. I think the favorite thing that I've had about this build so far is that I like just running and running. When I'm doing campaign, I'm just trying to get through. And then this golem comes running in like he's absolutely had enough of Flint Lockwood and his inventions ruining the town. And he just straight up clobbers everybody in sight. It's a beautiful thing. A very beautiful thing, and it makes me happy. And just the fact that he runs around like a gorilla stomping around, it's pretty sweet, I guess. Now, I'm not intentionally trying to make us fight all the same bosses in these videos here. That's not something that's going to be a goal of mine. But I just want to see the difference, and the difference is extremely clear already. The damage that I am putting out here is, I don't know, double what I was doing on the other one. Again, that's probably more down to the actual build coming together, as I am doing solo self-found. But wow, that guy just got wrecked. He got wrecked. And we're happy. And we're having a lot of fun. And making this video is going to take a lot less time because of the grinding going so much faster. We're almost to the point of monoliths, and I cannot wait! Now, I do feel like it's worth mentioning that I have been literally just running ahead of my dudes the entire time. And I haven't been really standing and fighting anything unless it's a boss. However, I'm still almost 2 full levels higher than I was when I got to this point on the other build, and I got here, I would say, probably an hour faster. Probably an hour faster, because I didn't have to fight anything. I just walked along and did the thing and kept teleporting, and that's literally all I did to get here. So there's something to be said for the fact that I was not really doing much, and also I'm higher level. That makes it a good build, in my opinion, if you're trying to speed level anyway. Now you know the drill. I am actually going to do the Sapphire Tablet quest this time, and the Lesser Refuge to get a couple extra passive points and that sort of thing. I want to make my grinding process a little bit faster, and I think just bumping out those quests is going to do that. I'm going to come back with a whole new set of gear because it's time to kick it into high gear and actually figure out what we're doing and what we need to do monoliths at level 35. So since we're gearing in the range of their 26 to 40, they have a section for that for us. We want to be looking out for turquoise amulet and turquoise rings, especially with the commander's affix on them. That's going to be extremely huge for us. But also, since there's a lot of uniques that can be very helpful and I have a stash available to me, I'm going to grab as many of those as I can find. That's in this section down towards the bottom that says Necromancer Uniques. Keep an eye out for these guys, and that's exactly what we're going to do. I don't think I'm going to use any Runes of Ascendance to try to get these boots. I think that part of the reason that they want you to do that is so you're getting the double dip into movement speed. There's really no other reason that you'd be looking for boots such as these. So yes, the first thing they want you to do is have some unique boots that give you a ton of movement speed. But the more important thing are the rest of these little items that we've got down here, and that's what I'm going to be looking for. Alright, we're going to do a little bit of sort of advanced crafting here, and hopefully we get really lucky. We got one of our turquoise rings. It does have minion damage on it. It does have physical resistance. We like all of that. It does not have a lot of forging potential, and it has 2 affixes that we don't like at all. But what we can do is we can try using a Glyph of Chaos here. I find that using those on a prefix usually is too much of a crapshoot. There's too much stuff out there that you don't need, so they usually don't work out for me. But I do think that they can be very useful on suffixes, especially when you're starting out a build and you're going for vague resistance. If I get resistance here, I'm a happy guy. So that's what we're going to try to do, and we're going to hope that it doesn't take very much forging potential. It only took 2, and we got Crit Strike Avoidance, which I'm actually really happy with, and I'm going to keep that. But since I need to craft up all the rest of this stuff, I'm just going to leave the bad throwing damage on there. We've got a bigger problem. And that problem is that our increased minion damage on the implicit rolled at 5%. If I hold Alt and Control, we see that it could go up to 35%, which is a little bit better, I would say. And we got a mid-tier roll on our minion critical strike multiplier, so both of that is bad, and we want to fix it. We want to fix it somehow, some way. And the way that we do that is with a Rune of Shaping. So this is going to cost 1 to 18, and that's a lot. But even if we don't get that lucky, we'll still be able to get our minion damage up a little higher, or maybe some resistances. We'll see how it goes. Starting for 5%. Come on, baby. Look at that. The Glyph of Hope preserved us. It preserved us, and we got 28%. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming and supporting me in this way. That's exactly what we needed. That was perfect. I couldn't have asked for more. Now we're going to continue with our Glyph of Hope, and actually, let's look at our physical resistance right now. It's only 25, kind of the most important one. We're gonna fix that as well as our minion damage, and we're gonna just kind of keep them even, because if I move my head, you can see it costs 1 to 10 to do this one, but it's 1 to 12 for this one. So the odds that it costs us less forging potential are better over here. Let's see what we can do. Another one for just 1. I love to see it. Can we get a crit? No, but we still preserved, and I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to go back to minion damage, and we're just going to bounce back and forth between those two. Oh my lord, we are getting so lucky. I cannot believe that we're still able to even be crafting here. This is so good. We're really happy about it. Well, for this part, we're going to have to get my big dumb head out of the way so I can talk about the gear and what we ended up with. I did have a lucky drop of Pebble's Bite marked sash earlier, as you might remember, and that is still very good. We crafted up our 2 turquoise rings, and those turned out to be just fine. We were wearing these bottom 3 items basically the entire time as soon as we could. Like, we had really good drops, and I didn't have much better to be able to do anything with in my stash because I'm not high enough level to use any of my purples. But we got our resistances up to a reasonable point. Again, as I said in the other video, don't do this on hardcore. That would be a really foolish plan because you might die unless you just don't care about your character and you'll drop a couple of hours just to have the gamble at it being fast. Could happen. What we've really got going on here is a whole lot of minion damage, and 454% for spell damage is huge because we are using mages. We also summon our volatile zombies off of minion spell damage. So both of those are scaling off of that, and that's great. So all in all, I feel like the resistances aren't going to be that big of a deal. We do have a couple of affixes here and there for health. I think we're going to be just fine. So let's go ahead and head over to that monolith. Bro, this is so rough. Bro, why? Please. I'm just a boy. Is it because I said I was going to run past everything? Is that why I have earned this ire? I think it is. I need to save back some mana. I'm already going to start regenning because I know that I'm going to need it. Oh, Lord. It's over. Well, I do like to show you guys the first monolith that I go through, and unfortunately on this one, I died on the first monolith, so we're not going to be checking that one out. Basically, I just wasn't doing enough damage. It just was not enough damage. So I'm going to have to slow roll it a little bit, which is not great. But you know what? It'll be fine. We'll level up as we go. And hopefully we won't get a gauntlet of enemies that we have to fight all at once, because that's apparently really not good for this build. Not so much on the AoE. I definitely feel like there's not a lot I can do to help. This is a huge and stark difference from rolling with the campaign, where the Rune Master build is definitely pulling out ahead. And I was so confident too. I mean, this echo is taking so long. So the way that we've got our dread shades set up here is that we're going to try to put it on one of our dudes, and then that's going to give us some increases. Let's have a look at those. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to add extra necrotic damage to our bone golem. Importantly, we're going to make it so it no longer drains our guy's health. We will be limited to one dread shade at that point, and it becomes difficult to target, especially if you're playing on controller. Now, I know, eventually I'm going to be testing Wraithlord, and there ain't no way I'm going to be able to do that on a controller and have a good time. I understand that. I'll switch when I have to, just for you, because I care about you. And now that we have a few more levels, our process of actually killing everything is a lot better. But that's just something you got to be aware of. I wouldn't do it differently. I would still go into monoliths early and just suffer for one or two, because the speed with which you get your levels is just vastly superior to that of campaign. If you're in hardcore, you're going to wait until you're done with Chapter 7 anyway, and you're going to have all of your passives, all of your idols, all of your defensives are going to be online. You're going to have your full build with all the spells you're trying to use, so you're going to have a good time with it. Now you can see I just put my Dreadshade back up and it went on a random mage. It's fine. I'm not going to nitpick about it right now, but I want it to be on my golem. There we go. I got him. Sometimes you just gotta reapply, you know? If at first you don't succeed, try again. So I think that this build is starting to perform pretty well, and I can't wait until I get the final ability to make a giant abomination. So I have the same sort of thing here that initially killed me when I was trying to jump right in at an early level, probably too early of a level. And I just wanted to show you that with a couple of levels and a few more passive points, it is absolutely not an issue at all. Not even a little bit. We just absolutely destroyed that without even looking at it or paying attention. So the only issue before was that I was under-leveled, and maybe at that point in this build it wasn't as good at punching up as the Runemaster build was. It's fine. Like, if you were on hardcore, like I said, you're going to wait to go into these monoliths anyway, and if you die once or twice on normal, it's fine. The build is still really good. I hope I didn't give the impression that it wasn't, because it is really good, and it's actually really fun right now exploding a bunch of zombies. I like that a lot. Now we're also just getting to the point where we have acquired Assemble Abomination, so we're going to get to have some fun with that, and we're nearing the end of the monolith, which means we're nearing the end of the video, so I'm going to go through the final quests using this new build with my big abomination, and then I'll give you my thoughts after that. I just wanted to point something out about the abomination before I continue rolling here, and that is that this node that we're headed to quickly, Age of Undeath, says you can now only consume minions from summoned skeletons or summoned skeletal mages to create your abomination. However, it does not start to decay until you control 6 or more such minions at a time. However, if we hold Alt here, we can see that it says if you drop below 6 skeletons or skeletal mages, the health decay does not stop. And if your maximum number of skeletons or skeletal mages is reduced by respecking or other methods while you have an active abomination, it will start decaying. The indication to me is that they don't actually want people taking the ability off of their bar to try to make a bigger abomination. Now, I'm not saying you can't do that, and if you want to, go ahead. I'm just saying that for me, it seems like it's not intended, and therefore I'm not going to do the unintended thing, because I don't like exploiting. I like winning with the best of my abilities rather than going against what the game is about. And I know a lot of you are going to tell me I'm dumb for that. So we can have quite the army here and still have a huge abomination and a huge bone golem and doing all sorts of cool stuff. Now I'm ready to tackle the end of the monolith, and I am very happy with this build so far. So let's just run on through it, shall we? Before we get started with our little montage, I will just mention that when you have your abomination out, you still want to be putting your shade onto your golem according to the guide. And for me, that worked out pretty well, although the boss fight could have gone better. I'll be honest with you. This build really struggles at punching up. It doesn't do a good job of doing that. And the problem is that when your dudes are dying, you're struggling to keep up with summoning them back, and when you don't have them, they kind of are your defenses in this build. Sure, you can build other things on there that's going to give you some health back, give you some ward, make you have a ton of ward, But we're not at that point yet when we're leveling through the game, and so it's not that easy to get everything set up the way that you want to have it set up. Therefore, your minions are there to defend you, and when they're not doing it, it's bad. It feels really, really bad. Especially because at the end of this build, you do not have a traversal skill at all. In fact, they're trying to get you to use so many skills that you can't even put them all on your bar. Not that that's always a bad thing. There are certainly times where I have considered doing that myself for builds. But not having a traversal skill really is not fun at all. Did not like it. As for speed of using this build, getting through campaign with this build was very fast. It was fun to do, it was fast, and then when you get to the first thing that could be considered endgame, which is monoliths, it sort of started to fall apart. And you're going to see in the boss fight here, my dudes just kept dying, and I was struggling to get them back, and especially trying to summon your mages to then make an abomination to resummon your mages when the AI is so stupid that when you're fighting a boss, they just sit there and die, and they don't do anything to protect themselves at all. They just stand in mechanics until they are literally dead. That is not the best, and I know everybody loves the Wraithlord build right now, and I'm sure if I asked you which one I should be making off of this character, everybody's going to say make Wraithlord, do the huge ward, and that's probably what we're going to do. Unless you have a bunch of spicy suggestions that I'm not expecting, and then you could leave those in the comments below. One nice thing about this build is that it was relatively steady progression. There was minor respecking back and forth, but nothing that really changed the game, and we didn't need to get a whole new set of gear to do it. So that was very comfortable for the leveling process. I have tried out their Warlock leveling guide, and I gotta say that one was 1,000 billion times better. Way more fun, way more smooth, way more tanky. So I'm excited to get to that one when we get to it. But I feel like Warlock in the endgame is maybe not as good as you're gonna see from things like a Wraithlord. I'm not looking forward to dealing with the AI of the giant Wraith, if I'm being honest with you, because the minion AI could use a little bit of a buff here, and when you're counting on them so heavily, it can be a little dangerous. Now, I know I focused a lot on the gear in this video, and I really think that this build, every build is this way, but I really feel like this build is particularly dependent on the gear because you need your characters to stay alive. You need them to be able to do a lot of damage. You need them to be able to get some leech, which is why I was using the unique that I was using at the end of this video. And it's important when you're leveling that you're keeping up with that stuff instead of just saving it all for when you get to the end game and saying, I'll have good gear later. It's not worth it. You don't want to do that. You want to keep up with it as you're going. Would I recommend this leveling build? As a leveling build? Sure, absolutely. It was great. But then you get to the end and you have no traversal skills. You're very slow. You're entirely dependent on your dudes for doing anything for you. And the second that they fail you, you are screwed. When it works and you're like above the level of what you're trying to grind and you get to just grind through it, it works great. It's a lot of fun. But for killing bosses and stuff, real bad. Real bad. But there's always pros and cons to these things. So if your ultimate goal is a different endgame build and you're just trying to get through quick, by all means, follow this guide, have a good time. Focus on making your bone golem the star of the show because he really will end up being that. And unless you want to end up like me, losing to one of your monoliths, you definitely don't want to go in way too early, especially on hardcore. Although I think that it's relatively safe. It's okay to die here and there as long as you're still getting all those XP gains. Now, the first person to choose another leveling guide in the comments below is going to be the winner. You can choose Primalist, Rogue, or Sentinel subclasses. But I do want to do each base class one after the other and then keep cycling through to keep it more interesting, you know? Hey, if anything that I said in this video today entertained you, enlightened you, helped you make a decision on the build you're trying to do, hey, go ahead and subscribe, because then you can see all the other ones that are coming out very soon. I plan on making 3 of these a week, and in between those, there will be some streams of hardcore. For now, I want to thank you for watching. I have been Rage Panda 1, and I will see you in the next one.